my God, a new Chris Dangerfield video just came out. I can't wait to watch it.
Hello people, I watched this video a few days ago and it just struck me and I thought I'll make a video about that. I can't remember why exactly, but I can remember why roughly. The channel's called MarketBeat and this video is called Trillions in Defense Spending. 3 disruptive stocks set to double. So ticker symbol ethics. What we're essentially talking about here is in times of war, in times of people dropping bombs, can you make money out of that? And I'll just play you the intro uninterrupted for you to get an idea of, it's just very moody. It's a moody angle to take because, okay, imagine I'm convinced, imagine I find a stock, it's undervalued, it's likely gonna ×5 over the next 2 years, I'm skint, I could do with the money, but that's blood money. That is money made because they're selling more rockets, more long-range ballistic missiles or whatever. I'm not a military expert, I'm not an investing expert, but I do know a little bit about morality. Check this out, roll VT.
Defense budgets around the world are increasing at rates we haven't seen since the Cold War.
Trillions of dollars are flowing into defense companies amid rising world conflicts.
What we're seeing now is a rise of all these independent defense contractors.
But the biggest budgets aren't going towards tanks. The companies benefiting most are on the cutting edge of modern warfare.
These are all true disruptors.
Dylan Giovanni with Behind the Market shares a list of 3 innovative defense companies that could all at least double in value.
This stock is really selling at a fraction of what it's worth.
What developments are behind the explosive growth of these 3 companies? Let's dive in.
Just a couple of things there. Behind the explosive, I mean it's scripted, it's intentional. Behind the explosive growth, did you see that little lock off of the explosion somewhere in the Middle East? You know, I'm a bit bullish about war at the moment. You know, we don't need that.
Show, we really appreciate having you on to talk about an area you are well versed.
What I want you to watch is, what I want you to consider while watching is what they're actually talking about, what they intentionally avoid mentioning, but at the same time, what they casually mention as if, you know, if I don't spend the money, if I don't invest, someone's going to, you know, me not investing doesn't mean they're not going to bomb people, so, and that's what I was meant to say earlier, you know, I could do with the money, and is me not investing going to stop the bombs dropping? But do I want blood money? Can I live with that? You know, if I buy a loaf of bread, I'm supporting a corporation, and corporations, are they really looking out for us? Yeah. Anyway, enjoy this explosive video.
Versed in, and that's the defense sector. When you want to talk about an area you are well versed in, and that's the defense sector. Right now, all eyes seem to be.
It's amazing. She's got. Americans probably won't notice this as much as European people, but she's got that sort of everything's great. I'm smiling. It's a beautiful day, and yet there's a disconnect between her approach, her attitude, her mood, and what she's actually talking about. It's incredible.
On the defense sector, and that's because of all of the rising tensions. Do you want to just break down for us kind of what the world is watching right now?
Well, thanks for having me, Bridget. It's always nice to come on and talk to you guys and your viewers. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The world itself, we see a lot of conflicts breaking out. You know, you see Russia, Ukraine, You see, of course, Iran and Israel, and the United States, our involvement in that. And of course, you've seen the tensions between China and Taiwan vis-a-vis America. And, the headline is, we've had a lot of peace, but the world is entering a new cycle of competition,
A new cycle of competition. I've never heard it called that before, but it's good. It is. I've got to give it to him. It's good. Come on.
cycle of war. Basically, you have a couple
And he went there. I'll take it back.
cycle of competition, a new cycle of war. Basically, you have a couple of powers, a few powers, specifically China and Russia, that want to revise the international order. China wants to put itself in the middle of the global pecking order. They want to take our place as the dominant world power. So that is really happening, and that has forced us to increase defense spending. And
It's their fault. It's their fault. Right, it's a nice little. It's foreshadowing. It's all right. In a way, you're investing to maintain American dominance. In a way, you're going to stop those commies from taking over the world and creating World War III. Nice or subtle little. Just drop this in.
NATO now to increase defense spending, but it's a real thing.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of investment in defense spending all over the globe. It's not just the US, but it's everywhere. And I think all of these investments is where it's interesting for investors to pay attention to. It's not investments in new tanks. There's a new era of warfare. So talk a little bit about some of the areas of defense that are seeing the biggest.
She said defense so many times. I mean, it's also attack. It's not just defense, is it? I mean, I know it's probably a new cycle of defense, but it's also a new cycle of attack.
Investment and development right now.
So, basically we're entering a new revolution in warfare. It's very, very exciting. It's the most exciting time, and I've been studying this issue for 35 years. It's really the most exciting time for an otherwise boring industry, and that's really...
I'm having a great time with all these wars kicking off. I mean, I've been looking into this for decades, and thank the Lord that it's kicking off in many places, because I get to work now and I'm like, yes, bombs.
driven by AI and what we call networked or distributed warfare. The warfare that we all grew up with, post World War II or US Soviet, was really massed armor warfare, tanks. You put tanks and you punch through lines. And here we're moving, tanks really don't work as we're showing in Ukraine. That's kind of the dodo bird now, because you can take out a very expensive tank with a drone that has a cheap gun on it, cheap missile launcher on it with a $1,500 drone. So tanks have been, and helicopters are kind of...
This random footage is incredible. I mean, it's got something to do with what he's talking about.
Those are yesterday's weapons. And right now, if you could imagine the Battle of Stalingrad or World War II, where you had hundreds of tanks fighting and all pointing in the same era. Here, we're now shifting to an era where you could imagine thousands of drones, like a swarm flying around the sky. All these drones are...
It's a pure nightmare fuel. But even saying that, we're talking about investing. Imagine a sky like a swarm of drones. I'm actually imagining it now, and it's making me feel really unpleasant. You're sitting there, you're in your trench, Battle of the Somme style, and then you just hear, and then it kind of doubles, and then that doubles again, and there's this exponential growth, and then it starts getting darker, and you're like, the sun's going down a bit early, isn't it? And you look up, and there's this cloud of drones approaching. It's really exciting time. It's exciting stuff.
They're communicating with each other, communicating with a satellite, which is communicating back to home base. And they're all sharing real-time information, targeting and identifying target and kill information, all the time in real time. It's quite a revolution. It's astonishing, really.
And I know you have 3 names to share with our viewers today of 3.
She might as well be talking about making a cake. It's incredible. Okay, so you don't let the cream get to room temperature, yeah?
Companies that you may not have heard of yet that are really innovating in this space of the new kind of warfare that you just described. Before we get to your list of these 3 companies, I wanted to have you talk a little bit about maybe some of those bigger names in defense, the names that everyone is used to hearing about when it comes to defense contractors. Are they seeing the same innovation, or are we seeing more of these smaller independent players playing a larger role in?
This is lazy journalism. I wonder whether the answer will be yes. Your Lockheed Martins and all that, they're sort of old school death stocks. We've got, I mean, this is an exciting cycle. We've got loads of great new death stocks.
The defense spending in the U.S. and around the globe.
You know, it's interesting. You remember these are not your father's defense contractors. That's for sure. The world has changed a lot. You know, after the Cold War, defense spending went down, and those Lockheed Martins and Boeings and Northrop Grumman's, they bought all the smaller companies and really consolidated, and they became kind of these big, giant, slow-moving
war machines,
companies that don't innovate. And, you know, we saw what Elon Musk did, you know, with SpaceX. You know, he really revolutionized basically how that's done. And he took that business away from Boeing and Lockheed Martin and all these other companies because he just moved faster and did it better. And what we're seeing now is,
hang on, what's going on here? I thought he made cars.
a rise of all these independent defense contractors that are completely different, that are tackling a lot of these problems in completely new and amazing ways.
Anyone can do it. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of your chat GPT. You can sit at home, and by the weekend, you can have disrupted the defense cycle.
That are really starting to eat the lunch of these bigger competitors, which is astonishing and has created some amazing opportunities for folks.
Yeah, plenty of huge opportunities in the defense sector, and that's because there's really such a historic budget for defense spending, even just in the US. I know the video and the list you're going to share with us today includes some of the companies that could benefit from that increased spending, but you have a special report where you really dove into 3 companies that are set to benefit from that huge budget because Elon Musk and the president specifically handpicked these companies to help in our defense against China. You can scan the QR code right now or click the link in the description of this video to get into that today.
Yeah,
but let's get to that first company on your list of 3 defense stocks that investors should really be paying attention to right now.
So the first company on my list is Elbit Systems. The symbol is ESLT. It's an Israeli company. The stock is trading at $425 a share. Don't let the high price fool you. There are rumors that they're going to do a big stock split, maybe even 4 for 1. So most importantly, this company is selling for below dramatically what it's worth. And I wrote some facts.
Probably quite an inappropriate reaction to say, Jesus, sorry.
I
am actually sorry.
Revenue is $6.8 billion in 2024. That's up 14%. Operating income is $489 million, almost 10% to right there. And annual growth is expected to jump 20% as its huge $22 billion backlog kicks in. And, you know, one of the things that President Trump has done is he's forced European companies to pick up a greater share of defense spending. Now, Europe itself doesn't make a lot of the weapons that are most important. So that means they're going to start buying stuff.
Slingshots, bows and arrows. We do a great range in longbows, though.
From companies like Elbit and the other 2 companies.
Although, thinking about it, if there's a swarm of drones coming, a well-trained army of archers, there you go, might take them out of the air, be surprised. That'd be a revolution in the new cycle of war.
Companies that I've talked about, you're going to see, a lot of potential growth. And, here's the really interesting thing and why Elbit's a buy now. First of all, Elbit's involved in Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system, but they're really one of the keys for Israel's new Iron Beam missile defense system, which is really going to use lasers to knock down incoming projectiles.
Look at the image. Look at it. Funny thing about the future is we're already there. When I say funny, I mean terrifying.
And Elbit makes lasers to do that, among other things, but they're really good at that. That's like a super core competency of theirs. And also, President Trump has pushed to get an Iron Dome. He's calling it a Golden Dome in America too. We expect Elbit, all the companies I'm going to talk about today, but specifically Elbit, to play a very, very big role in helping us.
I mean, if I told you that Elbit are likely to ×5 in the next year, and I'd done all my valuations and spent a good week checking out management, past performance, fundamentals, got some experts, on the firm, and I suggested to you this is likely to ×5. Let me know in the comments, would you be alright with that? Would you think I've got a couple of £100 to sit in there for the missus' birthday? I might as well just chuck that in there, and walk away with £2,000 in a couple of years doing nothing, or any amount of money. These companies are doing well because there's more wars going on.
Mimic what the Israelis are doing with their Iron Dome here in America.
And this one is a very interesting play, and sounds like you said critical for that
Absolutely.
Dome concept. I am curious, are we already seeing this stock starting to rise just in the last few weeks as there's been more discussion about defense stocks?
Yeah, well, all of these stocks have moved up. They've moved, down in the past few days, but, because it seems like the Israeli, Iran-US thing is not going to get too much hotter.
It's gone down. Unfortunately, it's gone down because they've negotiated. Trump's done his angry speech on the news and he said, stop killing each other. But, who knows? It could kick off again. Fingers crossed. There you go, people. Don't like anything. Don't subscribe. Buy nothing. Enjoy your day. Look after yourselves. And don't forget to tell the people you love that you love them. Ta-da!